Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Senior Spot. Today, I'm joined by these two ladies who are coming from the Life Care Center of Nashoba Valley, which is located in Littleton, Mass. And there are other nicknames for it, Life Care Littleton, all different nicknames, but by the end of the show, you're going to have a really good idea with whatever you grasp in terms of the really special things they have there. So today, I'm welcoming Lauren Gaffney and Eirinn Campaniello. And I'll let these ladies describe exactly what their roles are at Life Care of Nashoba Valley.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. I'm Eirinn Campaniello, as Jen had mentioned. I'm the Director of Marketing and Admissions at the facility.
I'm Lauren Gaffney. I am the Program Director for the Memory Support Unit, which is a unit that helps patients that have all different forms of dementia.
Okay, so Life Care Nashoba Valley, aka Life Care Littleton, all of that, that's where it's located. When I think of that, I think of all different types of services being offered there. So can you give us just a general breakdown of maybe the different departments, as you might call them, that are offered there and different levels of care? And then I know I want to dive deeper into what those specifically are.
Sure. Well, we're a 5-star facility, so we'll start right there with a certain caliber of excellence that we know that we deliver with our rehab team and our nursing team. And some of the things that differentiate us, I think, are the fact that we have physician consultations that go on a bi-monthly and weekly manner. That's with general surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, physiatrist, pulmonologist, who come into the facility and work with patients. Some might be on our long-term wing, but mostly on our rehab wing, where they're talking and they're checking out things like wounds. And they're saying to the nurses, this is something that, the wound looks good, or this is something that we should go back to their physician with, that there's, something kind of turning. The nice thing, too, is that in regard to wounds, after surgery, you've got wounds, or with certain types of diseases like diabetes. So we have our director of nursing is our wound nurse, and she does wound rounds on a weekly basis. But we also have our rehab team, our wound care certified as well.
Wow.
So
okay, so it's like double
patients,
duty. So it's being able to meet the needs on both that physical level and then also that level of the wound care. And
right.
It's interesting when you mention that you have specialists that are coming in. I just want to make note that that's in addition to all of the staff that you already have there.
Absolutely.
So this is just above and beyond in these specialty areas that folks might need.
Right, and these are clinics that go on so that, somebody's had hip surgery or total knee replacement. Well, the orthopedic surgeon is coming in on this Wednesday. Let's get everybody sort of lined up so they'll go in and see the doctor who's going to be coming in. So it really is good because it gets people focused. And then just kind of talking about rehab as well, we do have an outdoor rehab track. We've got a lovely location. We're in a former apple orchard. So just sort of the environs are truly lovely. And the nice thing is that outdoor rehab track is around a paddock housing 2 llamas, Travis and VJ, and 2 mini horses, Molly and Whiskers. And that's just another reason to get people outside. And, a little bit of vitamin D. They're rehabbing. They're not even realizing that they're rehabbing. And it's also a wonderful spot for people to come visit, their relatives who are in rehab or long-term care, because everybody can go outside and sit by the animals.
Sure. Well, I know that's when I was joking earlier about the different names and the synonyms for the facility, it's people say, oh, you mean the llama place? Mm-hmm. So it's definitely well known for that and so therapeutic. We were talking before at the show about just animals in general and how therapeutic they are.
Right.
And I definitely want to speak to some of the other animals that are there as well. It just seems like it's a whole barnyard, which is really nice.
Well, and it's nice because people can also bring in their own animals if they're on a leash. A dog, it's not sort of like, oh, this dog has to be pet therapy certified.
Okay.
They're encouraged to bring them in. And with the mini horses, Lauren's been the person that's really been managing them.
It's been interesting. It's been fun.
I bet. So when you bring the mini horses in, tell us about a typical session with them.
The mini horses have been there since the end of August. So they're just starting to be able to come inside. Right now, we have a large, beautiful front porch that everyone kind of enjoys sitting out on, and it's a great spot to meet and greet and chat. And we've got them so they come up on the porch in our residence and visitors can spend time with them and pet them and just really enjoy their company. And we've been working them into the building.
Slowly but surely, of course, they need to be trained
Absolutely.
in one particular way. To
Absolutely, but it's really interesting. We got them through a rescue organization, and it's as if they've always been doing it. They have such a love for our patients that it's blown my mind a million times over.
Well, I'm sure they feel it right back, and that's that reciprocal.
It's amazing.
Type
It's so
of
nice
love.
to see our residents have something that they can call their own, and they'll say, "Oh, how are they doing today?" and what's going on, and it can really bring people out of their shells, because it can be hard to be away from your home environment.
Absolutely.
And this gives something different for them and something amazing for them to spend time with and chat with their family with, and just have something to show off.
Absolutely. So all of the levels of care that are there can benefit from these lovely creatures. So you mentioned the rehab. So you have two different, you have long-term and you have short-term. So can you speak to that a little bit? And then we definitely want to talk about your program, your memory unit as well.
Sure. So we do. We have two long-term care wings. So those of the patients who have decided to make a move to a skilled nursing facility, and it's a wonderful environment, I think, because it's, the facility is one level. But so basically the patients, they're self-directed, and they can kind of get anywhere to whatever's happening around the facility.
And there's always something happening,
There's
might I
always
add.
something going
Whenever
on.
I'm
Amazing.
there, that little
Yeah.
circular area kind of, it's almost like, comes out from like a compass, like that little area in the middle where you
right.
just have people congregating there. And
Yeah, everybody's kind of
enjoying their
watching the world
company.
go by, and especially during the nice weather months, everybody's out on the porch.
oh,
as
there's not
Lauren
a
had
seat left
mentioned.
on that porch.
We actually do some programming right on the porch, so that they're not, at times they're not just sitting on the porch, they're actively engaged in activities on the porch. It's interesting. We have a very strong activity staff who are always coming up with really inventive ways to spend time with the residents, and it's incredible, because some of the things they think up, I'm just like, wow, I could never. They're very creative, very creative.
Yep, and a lot of the different the programming, both for community events and also the activities going on, they really revolve around the patients. What are their likes? What did they do before they got to life
That's
care?
so important.
And Deb Thresher, who's our activities director, is just wonderful about kind of zeroing in on well, so and so liked to do X before he got here. Let's try and do that. So I think for the long-term residents, we realize it's a loss to them and their families moving from their homes into life
Into
care.
their new home, and
Into their
making it
new
as
home.
much of a new
Absolutely.
home as possible.
That's the aim,
Right.
the absolute aim. And it's funny because I actually heard a patient talking about this not too long ago, where he said to somebody, you know what, somebody came in and they said to me, geez, I feel really sorry for you being here. And he said, don't feel sorry. I have friends here. I have people who love me here. And I know that they're looking out for me here. And I thought that's wonderful, because that's truly what we do aim for with the long-term folks.
And speaking of long-term, also the staff that's there. You have a lot of staff members that have been there a long time, which speaks volumes, first of all, but also in that consistency for the residents to know that they really, truly have someone on an ongoing basis, having their best interest
Right. I
at
think
hand.
stability is huge. 'Cause
Especially in the healthcare industry. It's kind of unheard of that our director, Ellen, has been there over 20 years. Our director of nurses has pretty much a very similar tenure. I've been there for almost 6 years, and I'm a newbie.
Right,
And
right.
it really helps to build a family environment, because you've all shared a lot of experiences together, and we're able to project that image and that feeling to our residents.
And you definitely
It's a very
approach things
homey
as a
family
team
feeling.
too.
Yes.
And put your heads together. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Just the team approach, and
Right.
and you're talking about long term in terms of having it be that person's home and making it as wonderful of as experience as possible. But then you also have short term, in which I know different folks that have been in and out of short term with incredible success. So can you speak a little bit about the short term stays,
on
and
the
why
short-term
do
side.
most people stay there for short term? What are your specialties?
Well, I think, they do, people are more savvy, I think, today. They're going online, they're researching, they come out and visit. And so I think the fact that we are a 5-star facility, speaks to them, and it shows that we have a track record. And we're constantly thinking of ways of, healthcare is changing and population demographics, all that sort of stuff. We're constantly thinking of ways to reach out and to make the rehab experience better. So we have, right now we have an occupational therapy gym. We have 2 physical therapy gyms, one of them being the clinic gym that we talked about. And then we also have the outdoor rehab track. So that's something where, it's very busy on the rehab track, a rehab wing. Our rehab team is in there with the patients early, getting them moving. So it's busy, and I think people truly feel like they are there and they are doing their rehab, and we're going to get them home.
Oh, and I've seen people be absolutely pooped out, which is a good thing, be
Yeah.
absolutely pooped from having gone through whatever exercises, whatever motions that they need to be able to regain their strength, to be able
Right.
to go home. And I really love the idea of the outdoor, area, the outdoor track, being able to see the staircase outdoors, because we often talk about how do you manage, how do you ambulate with indoors, but
Yeah.
outdoors can be, and most likely is, more dangerous and has less, I would say, identifiable, predictions for you to be able to, threats for you to be able to, think ahead of.
And we have in our outdoor area, we have curbs. We've tried to simulate as many things as you would encounter in your everyday environment, so that when you go home and you have to cross a road or hit a curb, how do you do it safely?
Right.
And we're able to give them the confidence that when they encounter those obstacles, they're able to say, oh, that's no problem, I've done this, I've handled this, and they're able to have more confidence in their abilities going forward.
Well, and before we start, we were talking about the pets and the animals, and just the confidence. And you build confidence in a variety of ways. And will you share the example of the dog, of how being able to have, I don't know if it was Lucy, one of the greyhound that's often in the memory unit, but I'm not sure which dog, but could you tell us a little bit about that and how that's motivating to people?
It was actually my other dog, Senna, who used to come to work with us, and she had a spot, well, she has a spot on her head. And I had a patient that I had been working with and trying to get her, after a fall, to stand. And it can be very scary after you've had a fall to kind of bring your weight forward, which is the first step in standing up. And no matter what we did, she just couldn't find that confidence. And then one day I kind of said, and I brought Senna in and had her sit right in front of her. And her daughter was off to the side, kind of like, oh, I don't think this is going to work. And I said, can you lean over and pat Senna's head? And she said, oh, of course, and leaned right over and got her hips out of the chair and was patting Senna and smiling and having a great time. And we were able to say, oh, by the way, look what you were able to do. And it was kind of like that light bulb moment with her. And it was incredible. And I could have worked I'm an occupational therapist for the longest time and not had such great results. With someone having a great time.
Yep.
So it's really important to be creative in how you do things. And I think that's where we excel. We get the results, but we're able to do it in a way that is, it not only brings you functional joy, it gives you physical, you're able to have joy in your soul as you're going through
and
the rehab
naturally
process.
having someone do something. Because when you sit there and you say to someone, lean forward like you're going to stand. Anytime you say like you're going to, clearly it's not something natural that you're going to be doing. So that was just a natural way to be able to integrate
and when you
it.
have a fear of falling, it's very scary to come forward.
Right.
So it worked. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
great.
thank you for sharing that. And
Very fulfilling.
I would love to also tie in that you mentioned that you're an occupational therapist, which is a real asset. In addition to the
Absolutely.
fact that you are the director of the memory care unit. So dementia unit, memory impairment, people have lots of different terms that they use to identify with that. So, I mean, you have these two areas of talent, which leads me to the next question, where you have a separate memory unit, but you have all these levels of skilled and rehab. So just share with us the benefit of being in that unit with you, and if you have needs in other areas.
Oh, absolutely. My primary area is the memory support unit. It's a 27-bed unit, and as an occupational therapist, I'm able to look at my residents as, from a clinical standpoint, I'm there most all day, every day, and I can look at them clinically and say, hey, something's going on here, and we can address it right away, whereas a lot of times you have to wait for someone to come in and screen them,
Right.
and I'm there with them all the time, and I really get to know them. But it's not just on the dementia unit where we have people that have needs. So I also work on the short-term rehab unit and our long-term to make things easier for families. It's a hard transition when you're told that your loved one has to have extra support going home, and it can be so scary and overwhelming. And it's really a joy for me to be able to help people with that transition, because in my background I had family members that had the same disease, and that kind of sparked my passion for helping others within this realm.
And that's so important. And also, if you have a resident in your unit that needs to go to the hospital and come back, you know, even if they need to go to another section of life care, that's still more familiar to them, because we know how rapidly the decline can happen when you're in an unfamiliar place.
Right.
So the fact that they can come back home and have all these other things
Right.
available is a real plus.
And we try to manage as much as we can in the building so they don't have to go to the
Right.
hospital, because that can be so disorienting.
Yes.
To go to a new environment with the beeps and the people running
Yeah.
around, and it's very hard. So
And
we
people
do
not being familiar with them. Like you said, your
Absolutely.
team, you know, with the how long that most of you have been there, you really know people.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
the familiarity is huge.
It's amazing because, you know, as Lauren said, our director of nursing, Nancy, you know, I think started off as a CNA at either at our facility or someplace close. I mean, so it's amazing. And now she's the director of nursing. One of the nice things too about, you know, just kind of talking about getting people home is our rehab team, and the director's Pam Cole, they do home visits with the patients. And so they're going into the homes and sort of like, you know, I don't think we can do this, throw rug, you know, throw rugs out. And all the different
And
other
with
things.
that, you need someone beside your family member telling you that, because
Totally,
I mean,
It's
we
so
run into this
totally different when it's
yeah.
someone.
official, someone who's really
Right, that
representing.
It's
third-party
funny.
authority.
And those
So-
home visits are important because sometimes, you know, there's a misunderstanding or a totally different picture is painted for you. And I do those home visits too to make sure you really understand what the physical layout is and,
Right.
you know, how are they going to still be successful and not end up being right back in the same situation.
Right, right.
And it also adds to the patient's confidence going home, thinking, because sometimes, you know, they'll be lying in their bed being like, oh my gosh, I'm going home tomorrow, I'm not ready, I can't do this, I can't do that. And we're able to, through the home visit, say, you got this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
here's exactly why.
Right.
And I think it's a wonderful
So it
service
is.
that we offer.
But that transition is really needed and definitely brings a whole nother comfort level to going back home.
Absolutely.
Right, right.
sure.
And our director of social services, she's focused on the rehab side, Janice Hickey, who's a Westford resident.
she is.
And so, you know, she's really great about pulling in the different services that are needed. You know, I think the whole team is great about, you know, what's really necessary for this person to be a safe discharge and also to remain at home, that they're now not bouncing back. Because we know that that's, you know, just so important, just for the family, for the person. And I think also depending on, you know, it's wonderful that we've got the memory support unit and we've got Lauren's expertise for people who are coming into our short-term rehab and experiencing new things that they haven't before. We also have a neuro rehab program that's specific to those people who've had, unfortunately, had a stroke. And, you know, they're relearning some things. And so our neuro rehab team or program is through our rehab team with a physiatrist who comes out. and works with those patients. And I think the parts that set us apart are the fact that it's a clinic, we have a physiatrist, but then also Life Care Nashoba Valley has invested in durable medical equipment that's cutting edge.
Right. And did you bring some show and tell today?
We did bring some show and
Okay.
tell, so I'm going to leave that to Lauren.
One of the programs that we have is a SABO program, and it's for a lot of times when someone has a stroke, they are not able to or have decreased use in one of their hands. And this is a product that's used mostly in outpatient clinics. It's fairly unusual for facilities such as ours to invest the time and money in training and training the staff and the equipment itself, but this goes on your hand, and these little caps go on your fingers, and we're able to, through the skilled occupational therapist, decide what resistance works best, and it helps to just regain the use of your hand.
Which we take for granted.
It
Oh boy,
really-
do we
it's-
take for granted
Yeah,
until we lose.
it's incredible to see someone the first times they're able to start to see movement in their hand after they have, some sort of a stroke, and it's just incredible, and it's really fulfilling. But it's something that if they come to our facility and they start with the SABO program, they can go to an outpatient
And just continue with that.
right on,
That's
and
great.
it works really well.
So, I mean, that's obviously something new that you've invested in, and the durable medical equipment that,
Yep.
is cutting edge, like you mentioned. What are some of the other new initiatives, new programs, and things that are kind of up and coming for Nashoba Valley?
So we're talking about sort of a prehab program where if people have scheduled surgeries, that we can have them come in and then just sort of take a tour, kind of know what rehab is like.
Oh, that is so important, because we come across a lot of folks where they're having surgery. What do you mean I'm going to have to go to rehab? I never was told I have to go to rehab. So that can really take down so much of the worry, to be able to go and
Absolutely.
see and kind of have a rough timeline of,
Right.
and what does it entail? So that's I like that idea.
It's a great one, and the thing is, the routine in the facility is so different than in the hospital, because it's focused about getting you up and moving. And so someone who's new to rehab, that's just very odd, because you're sort of used to waiting for the rounds, the doctors to come by, and instead, nope, you're getting up, we're getting moving. And so there's usually a lot of questions about goal setting. What are the expectations of me? So that's a big one. Another one is stay connected. We're finding that you have for the Medicare patients who are going home, and I'm sure you're dealing with this as well, Jen, with the 30-day window that they have, and a lot of times, that means basically for the viewers who don't realize, under Medicare, if you're in a hospital and then you go to a skilled nursing facility, you've got a 30-day window where if you've had those 3 overnights in the hospital, you don't have to go back to the hospital.
In which you were admitted,
In
not
which you're
under
admitted.
observation.
Thank you. Yes, admitted inpatient, and so it gives people the option to avoid the emergency room, and so they can come back to a skilled nursing facility.
I know that's something that we encourage, because you just end up
Absolutely.
going through the same cycle again, and going back to a familiar place and picking up where they left off is exactly what makes sense for someone's progress.
Right, and I think it remains, it's sort of the linkage is there, because I think sometimes for the skilled nursing facility and for the, home care agency, somebody goes back to the hospital, there's a break in the linkage. And I think it's really nice when the person's at home and then, the case manager or whomever is calling the doctor's office, keeping them in the loop, saying, here's what I'm seeing, the physician saying, okay, where were they? Life Care Center in Nashoba Valley.
Exactly.
Okay, what do I need to do? And so it's sort of, I guess it's the unbroken circle,
It simplifies things. It makes it a
simplifies
lot less scary and a lot less of the unknown. And I like the idea, too, of going back to what you call it, the prehab. Is that what you called it?
Rehab, yeah.
Prehab, I like that term. Was just being proactive, and I think that it's really smart. I mean, a lot of times people are ending up there because of a crisis, because of something that was an emergency,
Right.
but we also have a lot of planned, replacements and things. So it's as much information as you can get ahead of time is going to make things a lot smoother,
right.
or as smooth as it could be.
Yep. No, and there's a lot of questions, especially for somebody who's just come out of surgery or whatever. how long am I here for? What's the rehab like? All these things, and their families as well. And so as many of those things as you're right that we can answer beforehand is really helpful. And then, something that we've been doing all along, but it's, I find it's just very gratifying over and over again are the success stories that we do about a lot of our rehab patients who have come in at a certain goal level and are leaving at a different goal level. And I'll have conversations with people because I'm amazed by how many patients don't, they feel like, well, yeah, I'm walking, but, they're modest. And they're sort of saying, why am I a success story? And then you start getting into it with them.
And they worked really hard for it too.
Yeah.
They'll give a lot of the credit to, of course, the staff and the motivation and, all the support, but credit goes right back to them too, being a partner in recovering.
And they don't realize that, and it kind of gives them an extra oomph before they go home. The fact that they had a stake in this and they did well. And I had a gentleman say to me yesterday, I'm really not quite sure why you're asking me, and then the more we talked about it, well, when he came in, he couldn't even sit up in bed. And now he's doing, he's sort of, rolling around the facility, doing laps. It's astounding. And once we started talking about that, he said, oh yeah, I guess you're right, yeah.
Well, and they might not see it that way either because they may have come in and been extremely overwhelmed and don't even necessarily recall, and I don't mean memory impairment, I just said sometimes when you're under that, under that pressure and under that, just a scary situation that you don't really realize where you started from, just how far back, where you can take a step from the outside and look in and see that. So that's
We're not
nice.
a really large facility either, so it's nice because you really get to know everybody and you can visibly see them progressing. And it's a lot of times they'll say to us in rehab, in the rehab team or to the nurses, thank you so much. They don't realize how much we get back as well from seeing them progress. It's really, it's
and
pretty,
the gratifying stories.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
And you'll have people come back. I've seen the book, and I think there's a book that you have in your lobby in which people will write letters after the fact, thank you, either on behalf of a family member or them themselves, which that's the best. You couldn't have a better testimonial than that, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Right.
So Life Care, Nashoba Valley, Littleton, the Llama Place, all of the above. So an extraordinary 5-star place in which you have memory, you have skilled, where you have long-term and you have short-term, people that are spending their days and that's their home, and people that are coming in and out to get back home. So thank you for sharing this. It was really great to hear all about it.
Thanks, Jen.
And I know that everyone's probably enjoying all the pictures that are going to be shown throughout. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jen,
Thank you
very
for
much.
the opportunity.
Thank you.